Hello and welcome to this sports psychology screencast, and we're still on individual differences. So we've looked at personality and attitudes. Now we're going to be looking at this down here. So we're going to be kind of talking about social facilitation. What social facilitation is. We also need to know about a term called social inhibition as well, which we'll show you on this specification right now. So what we need to learn is definition of social facilitation as well as social inhibition. We need to know the effect of an audience on introverts, extroverts, beginners, experts, simple, complex skills, gross and fine skills, as well as evaluative apprehension and strategies to minimize social inhibition. So our focus is going to be on these 2 bullet points here: definition of social facilitation and social inhibition, as well as the effect of an audience on the following here. So, first of all, these are kind of a typical exam question you may get. This one is about social inhibition. What is meant by social inhibition during sports performance? Obviously, you might get asked what is meant by social facilitation during sports performance, and describe 3 strategies a sports performer could use to minimise social inhibition. So, first of all, starting with just knowing what we're on about here, social inhibition and social facilitation is all about performing in front of an audience and the effect that that will have. Okay, so performing in front of an audience increases arousal, and this can have varying effects on an individual. It can either increase performance or it can decrease performance. Now, definition of social facilitation is that the audience has a positive effect on performance, e.g., hitting a personal best in a 100-meter sprint final in front of an audience. Okay, there's a perfect example for you. Social inhibition refers to the audience having a negative effect on performance, e.g., missing a penalty in a cup final. And there are different reasons behind why this may happen in terms of our personality, in terms of the actual task difficulty, in terms of our ability. So make sure you have those down first of all. They're really important for us to know there. Again, I'm just going to keep that at the top for you here. What we're going to be looking at now is the effect of an audience on the different specification points that we had there. Okay, so first of all, obviously we know that having an audience there, I'm sure you've all felt this before, can either spur you on and you have a great performance, or it may lead to you choking or not wanting to perform and therefore having a negative effect on performance. So if we looked on the effect of an audience on introverts and extroverts specifically, we're looking at personality here. Okay, so what type of personality you have? Are you introverted? Are you extroverted? And how this impact on performance. So introverts, audience and increased arousal causes a decrease in performance due to a sensitized reticular activating system. This is something that you're going to come across when we study arousal in more detail. Okay, all you really need to know about this reticular activating system right now is that it's located in our kind of brain stem and it maintains our levels of arousal. Okay, so that's all it does. Now, introverts dislike high arousal conditions because their RAS is already stimulated. Extroverts seek high arousal levels because their RAS lacks stimulation. This is something you'll learn more about when we come on to arousal. All we need to know is for introverts, an audience and increased arousal causes a decrease in performance. It's due to this sensitized reticular activating system. Extroverts, audience and increased arousal causes an increase in performance due to a desensitized reticular activating system. Okay, so again, as I said, extroverts seek high arousal levels because their RAS lacks stimulation. Now, if we looked at the effect of an audience on beginners or experts, so we're looking at ability now. So how does your ability affect the way you feel when you're performing in front of an audience? So we've got low ability and high ability, i.e. a cognitive stage learner and an autonomous stage learner. So a cognitive stage learner, i.e. low ability learner, the audience and increased arousal levels will cause a decrease in performance due to not well learned motor programs. Okay, so having an audience watching, having this increase in arousal, we kind of go back to our dominant response. And at this stage, at the low ability stage, our dominant response is not very good, i.e. we do not have good learned motor programs. Apologies for the typo there. So low ability, audience and increased arousal causes a decrease in performance due to not well learned motor programs. High ability and autonomous learners, the audience and increased arousal causes an increase in performance due to well learned motor programs. Okay, so we have got well learned motor programs our dominant response is good because we are high learners, we are autonomous learners within this stage, we have autonomous ability, and therefore an audience, an increased arousal levels will cause an increase in performance. So that's personality, introvert, extrovert, ability, beginners, and experts. We move on now to our effect of an audience on simple, complex, gross, fine, i.e. our task type and the classification of skills as well. So we should be aware that simple, complex go together, gross and fine go together. However, you split these up because obviously these are going to be positive, these are going to be negative. So simple, gross, complex, fine. How on earth does the audience affect simple skills? So an audience, an increased arousal causes an increase in performance due to requiring low perceptual load, low information processing, and low decision making. Okay, so in front of an audience, it doesn't matter because we're not making great decisions really. We're not having to process all of this information. It's low perceptual load. Therefore, this increases performance. So an audience and increased arousal causes an increase in performance when it comes to gross due to large muscle groups requiring low intricacy. A rugby tackle, just a large audience, rugby tackle, smash. Okay, low intricacy needed, the same as a 100-meter sprint. Okay, so these movements that require gross large muscle groups require low intricacy. Therefore, high arousal levels and audience is going to increase our performance. Contrary to this, if we have a complex skill, an audience and increased arousal causes a decrease in performance due to requiring high perceptual load, high information processing, and high decision making. So this is going to have a decrease in our performance in front of an audience and with increased arousal. And finally, the same for fine. So audience and increased arousal causes a decrease in performance due to small muscle groups requiring high intricacy. Therefore, the audience, the high arousal levels are going to cause a decrease in performance. So they're the notes that I need you to make for lesson. Please ensure that you are making good questions for these because we need to have these underpinned for the next stage that we're going to be doing. Okay, thank you.